So today we honor our UU Jewish tradition by celebrating the holiday of Hanukkah, the festival of lights, bringing light into the darkest part of the year. Besides being a joyous holiday, Hanukkah has an important spiritual message about the power of light and the need for hope. The holiday celebrates the triumph of light over darkness and spirituality over materiality. The menorah, or Hanukkah, reminds us of the miracle that no matter how dark life may be, there remains a source of light deep inside us. To have a better understanding of Hanukkah, we'll take a brief look at its history, traditions, and spiritual message, and how Hanukkah informs today's world. First, a very brief history. The story of Hanukkah begins during the reign of Alexander the Great, who conquered Syria, Egypt, and Palestine, but allowed these lands to continue observing their own religions and retain a degree of autonomy. Under Alexander's rule, many Jews assimilated Hellenistic culture, adopting the language, customs, and dress of the Greeks. However, more than a century later, a successor to Alexander, Antiochus, was in control of the region. He began to oppress the Jews, placing a Greek priest in the Hebrew temple, which was the center of worship and national identity. He massacred Jews, prohibited the practice of the Jewish religion, and desecrated the temple by requiring the sacrifice of pigs on the altar. Then, in the autumn of 164, the Maccabees, led by Mattathias and his 5 sons, were able to capture the temple, which had been turned into a pagan shrine. They cleansed it and rededicated it to Israel's God. After the Maccabees cleaned up the temple, they needed to light the eternal light, which is present in every Jewish house of worship. So Hanukkah actually celebrates 2 distinct miracles. The actual Hanukkah miracle is that the small, ill-equipped Jewish army, the Maccabees, were able to defeat the grand, experienced Syrian Greek army. Similar to the American colonists who beat the mighty British army to win our independence, the Jewish fighters were passionate, unrelenting warriors and fought bravely to preserve their right to practice Judaism. The second miracle is the famous oil miracle. Some oil was found and used to light a menorah, representing God's everlasting presence. And that was meant to be lit at all times. However, the story goes that there was only enough oil to burn for 1 day. Yet it burned for 8 days, allowing time to find more oil. An 8-day festival was declared to commemorate this miracle. Alas, this lovely story is likely a work of fiction. I'm so sorry. The rabbis rebranded Hanukkah in order to shift the focus away from the descendants of the Maccabees, as they did not always behave righteously, and their militaristic tendencies eventually led to horrific battles. So today, Hanukkah is probably one of the best known Jewish holidays because of its proximity to Christmas, especially this year when Hanukkah and Christmas are celebrated on the same day. Many people think Hanukkah is the Jewish Christmas. It is not. But secular Jews have adopted many Christmas customs and have woven them into their Hanukkah traditions. In fact, some people have called this blending Chrismukah. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, but I took a couple of pictures from, and you see, there's Santa playing dreidel with kids, and there's a reindeer with a menorah on his head instead of antlers. These were taken from Christmas or Hanukkah cards. It's ironic that this holiday, which has its roots in a revolution against assimilation and the suppression of the Jewish religion, has become the most assimilated secular holiday in the Jewish calendar. Because my husband was Catholic and I'm Jewish, we celebrated both holidays, like many UUs. We had a Christmas tree, and my husband, Roberto, wanted to have a Star of David tree topper. He went to several stores, couldn't find a Star of David tree topper. So he made one himself out of styrofoam and wrapped in silver foil. And after 30 years after his passing, we still have that Star of David on top of our Christmas tree, as do many of our friends. They were UU friends who were interfaith families. And when they saw the Star of David, they said, "Oh, we want one." And Roberto began making them for several people. And many of them wrote to me after his passing that they still had that Star of David on top of their tree. My husband also made little menorah and dreidel decorations for the Christmas tree. We hung Christmas stockings above the fireplace with a big Happy Hanukkah sign on the mantle and back of them. One night we'd eat latkes, potato pancakes, and jelly donuts, sufganiyot. They are traditional Hanukkah foods because they're cooked in oil. And the next night we had a ham, which is definitely not kosher. And we'd have big family gatherings because, as the joke goes, all Jewish holidays can be told about in 3 easy sentences. They tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat. Now, gift giving was not part of the ancient Hanukkah tradition, but because of the tradition on Christmas, it has become a part of many Hanukkah celebrations after many Jewish children complained. Now, some families give gifts every night. Some give only small tokens, while others give larger presents. And when I was growing up, gift giving was not a thing. And so we never got presents, except for 1 year. And after almost 70 years, I still remember this. One Hanukkah, my mother gave all 6 children socks. On the first night, many families give their children Hanukkah gelt. Geld means money in Yiddish. And Hanukkah geld is chocolate coins. Can you see this? Chocolate coins in the shape of money. So kids can play dreidel, which is essentially a gambling game. I have lots of dreidels. And I even have a dreidel made of clay. And there's a very famous Jewish song, dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. I made it out of clay. I don't know if you can see that. But I have a whole box of dreidels. I hope, so those were some of my Hanukkah traditions, and I hope some of you will share some of your Hanukkah traditions when we have our coffee hour. The most important ritual on Hanukkah is lighting the candles on the menorah. And can you see my menorah in the background? Well, candles have deep symbolic meaning in Judaism. Apart from being used to see through the darkness, candles are also a symbol of God's divine presence. Candles lit during Jewish holidays serve as reminders that the occasion is holy and distinct from our day-to-day life. The powerful quality of light, even a minimal amount, prevails over the strongest forms of darkness. As we kindle the Hanukkah flames, we rededicate ourselves to seeing and naming the blessings of life and of our own miracles. Especially in challenging times, light strengthens and sustains us to bring awareness to the love, goodness, and beauty that fills the world. We shine a light on what is good and honor our own capacities to lift up light for the well-being of all. The candle is also thought to symbolically represent the human soul and serves as a reminder of the frailty and beauty of life. Like a human spirit, flames must breathe, change, grow, strive against the darkness, and ultimately fade away. As the flame symbolizes the soul, the candle symbolizes the body. It burns, then diminishes into nothing. The flickering of candlelight helps to remind us of the precious fragility of our life and the lives of our loved ones. Life that must be embraced and cherished at all times. We are all flames on the menorah. Hanukkah focuses our meditations and practice on realizing the flame within us, the mission that is uniquely ours, to spread light wherever we go. The Hanukkah tradition tells us to place the menorah in the window, to bring light into the darkness and share it with everyone. Our mission is to be aware of our godly soul and to share that light, always sensitive that everyone else is also a light on the menorah. To be a light, we have to have access to the deep pool of oil within us, the deep resources of holiness and sanctity that are not limited by nature, but in fact are unlimited. In the Bible, light has always been a symbol of holiness, goodness, knowledge, and hope. The first utterance of creation is, "Let there be light." Light in Judaism is so pervasive that it's almost overlooked. In the Bible, the glory of God is something visible, like the pillar of light that went in with the Israelites as they wandered the desert, and the burning bush, which was so bright, Moses had to shield his eyes. Dr. Martin Luther King wrote, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." Events abroad and in the United States lately, since November, have taken a toll on many of us. Lighting a candle may feel like a betrayal of what the world has become. And yet, not to light a candle is to refuse Hanukkah's shining promise of hope. The reality of the conflict in the Middle East has deeply affected many of us. There has been staggering and unprecedented rise in anti-Semitic hate crime, both in the United States and around the world. In the United States, there has been a 337% increase in anti-Semitic hate crimes since last year. There has also been an equal increase in anti-Muslim hate crimes. The increase in both tied to the war between Israel and Hamas. We need to learn from the lessons of the LGBTQ community to follow a non-binary path, to be for peace and justice for everyone in the midst of a very difficult and complicated situation, instead of being either Israel or pro-Palestine. What makes any war oddly unifying is that there's a shared experience of irreparable pain, loss, trauma, and destruction. Adhering to the pro-Israel, pro-Palestinian binary frustrates our ability to speak with intellectual honesty and moral clarity. It is also the refusal to hold space for the other's pain out of an insecurity that it invalidates our own. We need to correct that notion, because a precondition for mutual peace is accepting the other's humanity. In the United States, there are those of us who feel a deep sense of loss, fear, or even despair over what the future might hold for the United States. Many of us are still in a place where grief and disorientation can leave us feeling paralyzed. It may be premature for words of hope. Yet maybe this place of stuckness is also where we will hear something deeper calling us forward. Our work is to acknowledge this moment fully, letting the pain and frustration guide us toward love and unity rather than despair. We are not asked to ignore our grief, but to embrace it in ways that empower us to remain whole and hopeful. The Hanukkah story tells us to ask, in our increasingly individualized society, how many of us have the kind of commitment to any cause that we would risk our lives for it? How much are we willing to fight for what we value? Do we value our democracy enough to be courageous and selfless for its preservation? We will need to continue the fight for justice, decency, respect, and morality. But we also need to take a breath now and take care of ourselves. Our souls and spirits need to be calmed and replenished so we can continue to rise into healing and hope. There's a story about the late Rabbi Hugo Gryn, who was a child in Auschwitz. The holiday of Hanukkah came, and after fashioning a makeshift menorah, his father melted the precious margarine ration to light a wick for the first night. Young Hugo, outraged, protested to his father. How could he use the food which sustained them in the midst of such horror just to observe the holiday? Many years later, Rabbi Gryn said that at that moment, his father spoke words he never forgot. His father said, "My child, we know you can live 3 days without water. You can live 3 weeks without food, but you cannot live for 3 minutes without hope." A choice for rededication to what we believe is powerful, even sacred. There are moments when all of us are afraid, when we feel hopeless and alone. Even in these incredibly challenging times, let us not retreat into our private spaces, but instead continue to share our light with the world and to continue to hope that where there is suffering, there will be joy. Where there is war, there will be peace. Learn the lesson of Hanukkah, the holiday of rededication and hope. No matter how many times you have done it before, once again, when you face the dark, light a candle. May it be so.
If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.